Get ready for a no BS approach to health and fitness. This is NBS Fitness Radio.
All right, welcome back to MBS Fitness Radio. I'm here with Garner Gowen. Garner is a new trainer coach here at MBS Fitness, and she's got a really unique story about body composition change. So, Garner, say hey to everybody.
Hi, how are y'all?
And let's just kind of start off with kind of like your story. Go from the beginning, I guess, when maybe you first started exercising or first kind of became aware of like, I want to create some type of change.
Yeah, so it all kind of started after high school. I was in the COVID year, so I ended up just, getting really isolated, I guess. And I ended up just losing a bunch of weight throughout all of COVID. And I went to doctors, and I was getting tests done thinking it was like a medical issue because I didn't crave food. I didn't like food, didn't have really good hunger cues or anything like that. All my tests kept coming back normal. And so eventually I just got to the point where it was like, I'm going to make myself hungry. I'm going to make myself eat. I'm going to make myself gain weight because I think I got down to like 85 pounds at my very lowest.
Well, what were you when you first started?
Probably just around 90, like not much more.
Okay. So you're already pretty kind of small or, lighter weight. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you started losing weight. Mm-hmm. This is your senior year?
Yes.
Okay.
Or this was freshman year of college. I started getting all the tests done senior year.
Yeah.
Kind of expedite it. Didn't really get anywhere with that. And it was crazy because like my sophomore year of high school, I was 120 pounds. I had weight. I just lost it all rapidly in a year. And then I could not gain it back to save my life. And I didn't really, I tried to, but I didn't really try to. I didn't like food. And so I started working out and the weight started coming on. I started eating a little bit more. My relationship with food, even to this day, isn't amazing, but I eat. I eat enough, plenty. But it took a long time for my body to just even allow myself to eat what I should. When I started tracking, I was probably getting 800 calories.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, what were you active or exercising at all or playing sports growing up?
I danced for 8 years.
Okay.
But that was through elementary school and middle school. And then high school, I just started working. I ended up getting 2 jobs by the time I was 16, just working part-time, but balancing myself through that. And then I became a server, which through that job, I was getting 15,000 steps a day. You know, no breaks during my job because it's, you always have a table. You always have work to do. And I would maybe get a free meal at work, and that would be my only meal for the day.
I guess were you actively trying to eat less food or
no?
Okay.
It was a huge mental thing. Still to this day, I just don't I don't crave food.
Okay.
Yeah.
What how far back do you recall that being kind of the case?
My entire life.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It actually it turned into what's called AFRID now, avoidant food restrictive intake disorder.
Okay.
It's a new eating disorder where it kind of mimics anorexia, but it's not intentful. It's not because I wanted to lose weight, but my body just didn't want any.
Gotcha. So for whatever reason, you were just not getting the typical hunger cues that you would expect to get throughout puberty and growth and everything. What do you think about the COVID years triggered the extra weight loss?
Just the isolation.
Isolation and stress.
It was my senior year that COVID happened. We had no graduation. I tried college for a semester, hated it, hated the online presence. I got no work done.
Yeah.
And at the time I lived with my dad, and we just didn't cook very much. We didn't really know how.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So would you get hungry? Hungry? How long of not eating would you go, okay, now I should eat? Or was there hunger? It just took a long time?
It was when my blood sugar dropped.
Okay.
When I got to the point of so fatigued and weak and shaky and dehydrated, everything would just kind of happen at once.
Yeah.
And then it was just get some carbs in. And it was I was just eating little carbs throughout my day to keep my sugar up, keep my energy up. But again, like once I started tracking, I really realized I would go days without eating any protein.
Was there less appetite for protein?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tend to be meat picky, like chicken picky, and I like my steak cooked a certain way, my burgers cooked a certain way. Like it's so extra, but it's just like intensely picky about food.
So you go to the doctors, they run some tests, and they say, "Oh, don't see anything wrong with you," but you're going, well, something's not right. Like, how did you gain clarity on after it and like what to do next?
So my therapist, she hadn't really heard of it. She had heard of obviously anorexia and all of that, but she was like, I know you don't have that. I've seen you long enough to know like that is not your issue because all my doctors would pull my mom off to the side and be like, hey, like, are you watching her? Is she okay? And so we just started doing research, and like me and my therapist were just going back and forth of like, you hit every single side effect of this. And so it was just, I guess, like kind of being aware of what was going on made it easier to be like, okay, so I just need to like make myself hungry. I need to make myself like have a goal in mind. And like tracking has actually been very beneficial for me in my journey because I see it as a goal. Yeah. I see it as something I need to hit rather than something I'm like intimidated by or, you know, how other people see it.
So what was step one? What did y'all come up with?
I just started working out.
So literally it was like, so exercise, the initial kind of journey of exercise was purely to just make yourself more hungry so that you would eat more.
Yep. I had an apartment gym. I was living on my own at the time. And, you know, of course, on TikTok, I'm seeing all these girls lift heavy. And I'm just like, oh, like, I want to look like that. I want to be able to do that. But I'm heavily an introvert. And so I was like, not going to a public gym, not doing that. So I went to my apartment gym for about 2 months before I ever stepped foot in a real gym.
What were your first workouts?
I mean, it was just a lot of like goblet squats, RDLs, like a lot of free weight stuff. Okay. And then they had like a lat pull down machine and a seated leg press.
Did you just make it up as you went?
Yeah. Like I saw other girls on TikTok and I just copied what they did. And then I filmed myself and I would just compare my two videos like side by side and being like, why didn't it look like that? Why didn't it feel like that? And that's still to this day my biggest advice for clients is just film yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So for 2 months, you start working out in the apartment gym. Like, what's the change that you see?
Oh, I mean, just immediate muscle definition. Since I was already so frail, like I would see the pumps that I would get immediately. And so it was just like, oh yeah, I'm seeing this progress. And my body just like absorbed everything I put in it. It went from like having 800 calories to, I think my first goal was like 1,700. I think that was my first goal calorie. And yeah, I mean, I just surrounded my life. Like I had 3 months before I started cosmetology school, and I was like, I have 3 months to make this a habit. I have 3 months to make this a lifestyle before I'm too busy to do that.
How did you come up with the 1,700 goal?
I was like, I need to be eating more than I am now. Let's add 1,000. Like, let's see what I can do. And it wasn't necessarily the healthiest, but I would just like have one big binge meal that I would have at like the end of my day. And it was like a protein waffle, bacon, sausage, eggs, orange juice, like everything you can imagine. And I just like binge it. And
that seemed easier than eating throughout the day. Mm-hmm. Why so? Why do you think?
It was a big stressor for me throughout my day. If I was like constantly thinking I had to eat, it was just constantly kind of like stressing me out to the point where I was just like, if I eat one big meal, it's like I'll kind of get my body used to eating bigger meals throughout the day, and then maybe it wouldn't be as stressful. And I mean, it worked. I went from, you know, only being able to handle some fruit in one sitting to then being able to handle some waffle and some fruit or vice versa. So it wasn't like, I would say the healthiest start, but it gave me momentum to get adjusted to all of it.
Interesting. Okay. So you said you only worked at your apartment gym for 2 months. So at some point you decided I need to go do something else.
Yes. At some point I was like, okay, these, like the dumbbells I think went up to like 30 maybe. And so it was just like, okay, I
maxed these out.
Yeah. I was like, I got to start like with some machines. I'm seeing, you know, again, all these other girls were squatting and deadlifting and bench pressing. And I was like, okay, those are the strength movements I want to get into. And so I went to a local 24-hour gym here and hated it and canceled my membership immediately.
Why do you think you hated it?
I felt like it was just very crowded and I was being watched. Like I was just already so self-conscious that the machines being right next to each other and people constantly waiting for machines, I was like, everyone's looking at me.
Oh,
everyone's waiting for me. Everyone's, paying attention. There's mirrors everywhere. And
man, I can imagine that is a common feeling that people get. I think about, like, I was talking to a client this morning, and we were just talking about, like, reasons why people, avoid the gym. And I was like, fear. She was saying fear. I was like, yeah, fear is a big one. Because it's like, man, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to embarrass myself. And there's maybe, like, we look at, like, the pathways. So they say just your normal group training at our facility. I mean, you're coming in and you're working out in a small group where people are fully aware of, like, what you are doing. There's a coach there watching you. There's other people you're doing it with you. So, yeah, I mean, that's intimidating and hard to kind of overcome. Yeah. But you also get the support of it and people telling you did a good job and, like, you did great. And, like, so you get the kind of, you feel the fear. I mean, you also feel the support. It's like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
And then there's the other avenue you could take, which would be, I'm going to join the 24-hour gym where there's I'm not working out with anyone. I'm fully by myself. So there's a little less of a load of, like, people. I'm working out here with people, but then you're going, like, I got no support. In my head, I'm like, I think these people are watching me, and I can see why that's why 70% of people don't use their gym membership. Yeah. Because, like, they go in and go, oh, this is intimidating, I'm leaving.
Yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%. It's, already being a woman in the gym and just, I think I went in the evening too, like the worst time to go. And then
you were like 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Yeah. And then I canceled my membership, and then I went to another gym, and I went in the earlier time, and it just totally changed my perspective. The morning.
How early?
I'd say like 6:30, 7 a.m. Okay. Because I started going before school, so at that point I was in cosmetology school, and I had to go before, and it was just a whole new crew of people. I saw the same people every day. It was always a good morning, a wave, something. Yeah. And like you said, it just felt more like, not that I was, like, working out with them, but it was like I looked forward to my good mornings. I looked forward to saying hello to people and giving a smile.
I think there's another component that as you get older, your responsibilities increase, and typically you're just, the morning time is the more realistic time for you to go work out. And you have kids, and kids have activities, or maybe you have work that who knows what it's going to look like later in the day or whatnot. So you typically see a little bit older crowd at the morning and a little bit younger crowd in the evening. And then with the younger crowd comes competition.
1,000%. 1,000%.
So there's a little bit of, that kind of stuff going on. That makes sense. Yeah. So you're going to cosmetology school, and you're training. And so, like, now, what are you, 3-6 months into training at this point? Yeah. What are you doing? What results are you seeing?
Great results. I got really into meal prepping because, again, I was cosmetology school day and then sometimes work in restaurants at night. So I got really into meal prepping, and it was like, at cosmetology school, I was kind of like the only person who was doing that. Yeah. So I almost like had to uphold my image every day by like doing it. So it kind of pushed me to be like,
there's an expectation that the Garner's going to show up with her meals ready. So.
Exactly. And I ate the same thing like every day for 6 months because it was just easier than trying to find a different meal to fit in my macros or that I could eat and know that I'd be fine eating. Like, and so I did that. I had my protein shakes. I always have had everything like ready the night before. Yeah. And I thrived on that routine. I loved it. The progress just kept coming. And then by December, so that was like March, by December, I started training people. I was at my gym and they said they needed a morning trainer. I was there early. And so I started actually.
Were you still going to cosmetology school at that point?
Yeah.
So were you still working? How were you working out?
Yes. So I would train like 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then work out for an hour, go straight to school by 8:30, get off at 3, and then if I didn't work at restaurants, then I would train a little bit in the afternoon, or if I did work at my job, I would.
What were you eating at this time?
So morning, definitely starting off with protein shake with lots of peanut butter in it to try to get more calories in. Lunch, I had the protein bowl. So it was ground beef, pinto beans, rice cooked in bone broth, topped with queso. And that was the meal that I ate every day for like 6 months.
Sounds yummy.
Mm-hmm. And then when I got home, a protein waffle, and then I found some like sausage that was like 14 grams of protein per patty, and make 2 or 3 of those.
What were you making for your protein waffle? Like, were you
Kodiak cakes.
Oh, you were getting the Kodiak cakes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you adding extra protein powder to it? Or you're just like making it with the egg and okay.
Just making it with the egg. Sometimes I would do 2 eggs and then lower the milk. Just any way I could sneak protein. I tell people it's all about sneaking protein into your diet.
How did you learn that?
TikTok.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just doing online, just learning from other people. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I found like a few good reputable coaches. I found like a powerlifting coach, a bodybuilding coach, and then like a few just like world athletes that I was like, I'm going to see what they're doing because they're not just influencers. These are people who are like full careers, and they're using their platform to educate. And I would just go through all of their videos just for hours.
So at some point you decide I'm not going to do this cosmetology school. What was that like?
Hard.
Okay.
You just spent the last year going to school for 35 hours out of the week.
Yeah.
And you paid about 20 grand to go to school, but I just couldn't see myself doing it. I tried to like convince myself I would do hair and makeup for bodybuilders, and I would go that direction and try to combine the 2 careers. But it was like, when I was doing it actually side by side, I did hair for a little bit after school, and it was like doing it side by side. I was like, I look forward to the time I get to train. Like that's almost like my treat at the end of the day. And it's like, I want my job to be a treat. I want it to be fun. And if I enjoy this, like I'm not going to force myself to do the career I just spend all that time on.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's like some sunken cost in there, but not much. Not near as much as if you've been doing it for 20 years.
Right. And it's like I still have that license to always go back on. So it's nice to like have that. But also I'm just like, I enjoy what I do.
Yeah. So how does your training and nutrition like continue to adapt as you, because I mean, you've been doing it for a year. Like how does it continue to adapt and evolve?
I will say in my case, like the working out part is the easy part. Yeah. That's like my stress, like my de-stressor. Food is my biggest stressor. So with that, it's, going back on all my comfort foods and always making sure I have my comfort foods in case I need to go back on them. And it's just managing it throughout the day. I know 3 big meals is not for me. I need to eat about 5 times a day. And it's just knowing my routine and knowing what I need.
All right. So when you say comfort foods, when you say you go back to your comfort foods, are you saying that they're like because of your previous kind of condition and disorder, like your desire is not to eat, so you need some comfort foods to be like, I'm comfortable here. This is how I'm gonna actually get the calories in.
It's sometimes just kind of like pairing foods with other foods. Yeah. Like there's some foods that enhance my appetite. Like very few foods that I do crave. Of course, the ones that I do have no nutritional value in them. Yeah. But like it's just knowing myself and just knowing what keeps me, like if I can't be perfect every day, like I'm gonna make sure I'm still eating. Yeah. Even if it's not the food that I necessarily like absolutely like need to eat to hit my protein goal and hit this and this, it's like just make sure you're eating. Do
you feel your appetite has changed? Like do you is it still just like I'm eating because I know that's what I need to do and that's my routine, or is there an increased hunger now with extra exercising, more muscle mass, more food consumption?
Yeah, I will say like definitely after a hard workout I get the feeling that I need to eat. But very few foods, again, like I'll say like I have an appetite, I have no idea what I'm craving. I just don't have like that connection, I guess. And so. But
does like, if you're like, I'm hungry, does anything pacify it? Or like if you're like, I'm hungry and then you go, you get your typical protein bowl, you're like, I'm hungry, but this isn't it.
Yeah, it's typically like that. Like if I'm hungry, I'm going to be craving like a pickle. Or I'm going to be craving like orange juice.
Interesting.
Or something that's just not, again, like it's a specific flavor that I crave. And I've just found that like, if you crave a pickle, get a burger. Okay. Like suffice it with something like that. Orange juice, get a smoothie, and put orange juice in it. So it's just kind of knowing like, get that flavor in there, but try to fill it up with a little bit something else.
Interesting. Okay. Very cool. So what do you, so like how many years now have you kind of been on this new journey, the new path? Of
Like working out in total?
Yeah, training and then also like kind of like sticking with your nutrition.
About 2.5 years now.
Okay, so you got 2.5 years under your belt. What's been like the body composition change?
So I went from 85 pounds and I'm 135 now. That's pretty much like the peak of my bulk, but I plan on staying here and just kind of recomping, changing the body fat that I have into muscle mass. And when I got my first body fat percentage, I want to say I was at like 4% body fat. And now I'm at 27.
Yeah.
So I think women are only supposed to get down to like 11. So it was a dramatic change.
And, and maybe this is, if you're uncomfortable answering this, that's fine. But like, how do you feel about your body and now that you've kind of gone through that transformation?
So much better.
Okay.
And it was actually
you had a negative outlook on your body at the lighter weight and a more positive outlook now.
Yeah. I would wear super baggy clothes. And the thing is like when you're skinny, everyone thinks they can talk about it and not be offensive.
Interesting.
And so it's like people would grab my wrist, people would grab the sides of my stomach.
You're so skinny.
You're so skinny. Look at you. You look great. And it's like little do they, I'm like, I'm incredibly malnourished. I'm not healthy at all.
Yeah.
And it's like my legs.
And conscious.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. Like, with it. Yeah.
And like I was shopping in kids department.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't fit in swimsuits. And that just did not make me feel feminine. It did not make me feel like I was grown, and I was like, this is embarrassing. I can't wear kid swimsuits to the pool. I can't wear kid jeans. But people think they can talk about it. People think they can say whatever they want because you're skinny.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you if you applied that same logic to like someone who is obese, look how obese you are. Look at these legs, man. Look at these.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. That is the most offensive thing that you could possibly do. But it's like that's in our society. It's interesting because obesity is the norm. It's not. I wouldn't just say necessarily accepted. I think people are aware that it's not ideal, but it is the norm. And so since that is the norm, the also uneducated norm is the desire to be skinny. So there's like this comment that they probably felt like they were somewhat encouraging you or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah. People thought they were just hyping me up. They thought they were, cheering me on. And I remember the exact comment that actually got me to start working out. And I was at work and I was wearing like leggings and they were a little baggy, like behind the knee. And like someone made a comment about it. They were just like, you don't even fit in those. And I think they were even kids leggings. And it was the next morning I went to the gym.
Like, I'm done. Did you ever comment and ever say anything to anyone?
Yeah, sometimes, but even then it was still just like, oh, you have nothing to complain about. Like it was still just so like dismissed that it was like no one really sees that. Like when I would say like, oh, I just never get hungry. Oh, you're so lucky. Well, no.
Yeah.
I had no energy because I never ate. It was hard for me to get up. Like I couldn't go on long walks and things like that people wouldn't even think of whenever you're so malnourished.
Yeah. So what are some of the lessons that you've taken from that and then like shared with some of your clients? Like,
definitely just like follow the journey of it, because it's like, again, I spent all this time trying to gain weight. And even when I got to my, bulk period, I was still like, ooh, I don't know how I like my body.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're going to spend your whole journey, if you try just picking things out, like you just have to appreciate the work that you're putting in and know that you're doing it for like self-love rather than just like appearances and aesthetic.
Yeah. I have thought that I've been conceptualizing lately, and it's like layers of reasons for training or exercising or layers to it. So like the most surface level layer is for physique. It would almost be like a a desire to be seen as sexually attractive to the opposite sex. So that is like, I want to look good naked. That's like the most surface level. Then there's like the next level down, which is a little bit deeper, which is maybe it's desire to be healthy, to get more things out of life, to be more productive. I want to have more energy. I want to feel better. I want to have I want to be healthy. I want to be able to do more things. Then there's like another level, which is that just applied to other people. You know, I want to be healthy for my grandkids or my children. I want to be a good example. I want to make sure that I'm, you know, an asset to the people around me. And then you have like the deepest level, which it would be like stewardship of the gift. Like you've been given a gift of a healthy body with 5, 10 fingers, you know, 2 arms, 2 legs, functioning body. You've been given that gift, and therefore you must steward it as if it was a gift given to you. And so if your primary goals are at this surface level, you'll fail.
Yeah.
In one of 2 ways. You will fail because either that's just not enough to take root and overcome, you know, the just normal temptations that pop up. Like when the ice cream man comes, you're going to go, I want the ice cream. You know, when it's time to wake up in the morning and do the workouts, you're like, I'd rather sleep in. It's just not enough to take hold. And if it does, it corrupts you, man. Like if it's fully just like, I just want to look good naked so the opposite sex is attracted to me, I'm like, that is not a good foundation to have for why you're doing this. Because that is going to create some serious issues down the road.
It's draining.
Yeah. So, like, it is better to have these deeper and ultimately the deepest foundational level for why you do it. And guess what? You get all the rest.
Yeah.
Like, form follows function. If you work out regularly and eat appropriately, guess what? Your body's gonna look like it. So it is a nice byproduct of the process and the journey, but it shouldn't be the foundation of why you're taking on the journey. So
yeah, it's definitely where I got started, and I tell my clients now, like, especially like being in the bulk and then being like, oh man, I'm not as confident as I thought I would be here. Focus on being strong. You know, let that be your strength gaining phase. Like, switch your ideology behind, like, you know, just, always looking good, always have to be cut, always have to be lean. It's like, no, sometimes I want to be strong. Sometimes I want to work on skills. Sometimes I just want to be capable of doing things. And it's like showing that you can be capable, even if it's with squat, bench, and deadlift. Awesome. You can bend down correctly. Oh my gosh, you can squat down correctly. You can push something on. Like, think of that goal rather than just like, oh, that's going to get me big legs or, something like that. Yeah,
100%. So what are some other lessons that you've learned and shared with your clients?
Be patient.
Okay.
Like, very much be patient and be consistent, even if it's not perfect consistently. Because I see so many of my clients, you know, they go on these high motivational peaks and then they drop and then they just like go on a bender for an entire week. And I'm like, whoa, you had these habits like installed, like you were doing great. And it's like, it's finding balance, but it's also like just showing up for yourself and being disciplined rather than motivated. And it's teaching that lesson, because if I only depended on motivation, I'd never eat.
I feel like that's like brushing your teeth. I'm like, are you like super motivated to brush your teeth every night? No, why do you brush your teeth every night then if you're not motivated? And you're just disciplined for the habit. Like I started brushing my teeth when I was 2, and then I just haven't broken that habit since. So that's kind of what exercise is like. It's like, I don't know, it's just my habit is I wake up, I go to the gym, and that's what's just ingrained in me.
Yeah. You know? And with that, it's like I tell my clients, like, we don't have to do 100% today. Just show up. Like, we can do a light day. We don't have to go super hard, max effort, you know. Like, if you're having a hard day and you barely got out of bed, we can do a workout that kind of resembles that you just got out of bed.
100%.
The important thing is you're here and you're still creating that routine and that consistency, and showing up for the hard things will make it so much easier to show up for the easy days.
You're also teaching yourself about who you are. If you skip or quit or or whatever, every time the journey gets difficult, you are telling yourself and showing yourself and building the habits that should it get difficult, should it get hard, should the circumstances not be perfect and my motivation not be at its highest, that I will quit.
Yeah.
And when you show up and you teach yourself that even though I'm not motivated today, even though I didn't get a good night's sleep, even though I'm not going to be 100% today, I proved to myself that I'm the type of person that will still show up because it's the right thing to do and it's a commitment I made to myself. That becomes part of your identity, and it's easy to exist within your identity. If you're like, I see myself as a type of person who's going to show up and do a workout even if I didn't get a good night's sleep. It's easier to show up and get a good workout when you didn't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
If your identity is, I'm the type of person who will not show up to work out unless the situation is perfect, then you would be the type of person that constantly doesn't show up to work out because the situations are never perfect.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I tell my clients, I'm like, if you just, kind of like what you said, like if you just wait to like till you feel like it, it's like none of us would go and like lift the weight. It never feels right to lift the weight. It never feels right to just start the workout. Like that's when you have to blindly do it.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust yourself that you're going to see the other side of it.
Yeah.
That it's like you just have to start.
Yeah.
The hardest part is walking in. I set a rule for myself when I first started working out, especially with all the gym anxiety that I had, is that I could not make the decision not to work out until I was there. And once I was in that yoga room stretching, if I truly did not feel like it, I could go back home and I could go back to sleep. In fact, I could take off the entire day from work.
Yeah.
If I made that decision by then. I never made that decision.
Yeah, because I'm here. I might as well do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, it might not have been 100%, but it was like showing up.
Yeah, just doing something, building the habit. What's been like? Have you come across anyone else who's had a similar journey? I mean, a lot of people's body composition changes is the opposite. You know, like, I put on too much weight. Like I'm overweight. I'm obese, and I need to lose it.
Yeah.
And have you come across people who've been on similar journeys of needing to put on weight?
I've come across a few people. They didn't exactly have my case. I've dealt with people with more like anorexia, which is, I feel like, a bit harder because there's a lot more of like the mental of like, I don't want to gain weight.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I would say in that case, it's just so much harder mentally than physically. Again, those people showed up to work out. Yeah. They had no problem working out, but it's the homework after that. It's the choice of eating 3 times a day. You have to make that conscious choice all throughout your day. And that can be mentally draining. It's like, yeah, my workout's fine. I make the decision to do it, and I'm done within an hour. Yeah,
but if you're anorexic, unfortunately, a lot of like your reason for working out is like, how many calories did I burn?
Yeah. And so it was definitely like the people I worked with, they were mainly strength people. They did absolutely no cardio, and it was, focus on getting strong. Because once you see that you're capable, then you won't see gaining weight is like fat. You'll see it as gaining weight and muscle and getting stronger. And then once they can kind of put like that into a picture, or like they've seen someone make that change, it's great because you only see people gain weight when they've gained bad weight, you know? And so seeing someone just gain it in muscle, it's like, oh, you can do that? Yeah,
your only example is like, oh, this person put on 50 pounds of fat.
And that's just what they're afraid of. They see everyone in the gym trying to lose that, and they're like, I don't want to get there. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, not a lot of people represent our story, but you're not going to get there. Yeah. Like, it's much different.
Yeah. What's your thoughts about recomping? I mean, do you have, I would imagine you have a little bit of anxiety around that, or oh gosh, like the idea of like losing weight or losing like, so what's kind of, where's your head at with that?
So I got up to 135 and I really try not to let myself get below 130. So I just try to give myself that buffer. Yeah. Whenever I have a really hard week or, stressors come up and I'm like, I cannot eat, 3,000 calories today. Absolutely not. Like, that's just not, I don't have the time for it. I don't have the mental energy for it. Yeah. So just kind of giving myself a buffer, and then just monitoring, I'm not going to go super hard on my workout today and burn, 500 calories if I'm not going to eat and replace that. So it's just kind of knowing like input versus output. If I eat really good on a day, I'm going to go and get a really good workout, that day or the next day to use that energy, to use that fuel. But I think that just comes from like knowing your body really well.
Have you experimented at all without tracking calories?
Yes.
Okay.
Did not go well.
What happened?
Just did not eat enough. Not nearly enough. Like it was more so I couldn't just tell when to stop eating. I didn't eat enough, but it's like I was so stressed about not eating enough. I was over making food and then not eating it and then taking it as a loss, even though that might have been the correct portions. Had I portioned it out, that I just ended up trying to overcompensate and then taking everything as a loss. So again, it was like having it mapped out for me. I knew without a doubt, like that was going to help me reach my goals. I didn't have to think about it.
So essentially, you were going, I'll eyeball this. There was kind of anxiety around, like, I got to make sure I'm eating enough. So maybe you eyeball and, like, get an extra half scoop in there, which is more food than you're used to eating. So you get to it and you go, I can't eat anymore. I'm full. Yeah. Because you're just essentially potentially eating the same amount of food that you were eating. There's just now more on the plate.
And that's another thing. Yeah. Portion size is like tricking my brain, like using different size plates to make me feel like I'm eating less, or, you know, again, cooking my rice in bone broth so that way I could get extra calories, but I can't see them. Yeah. And my shakes get extra calories, but I can't see them, because it's so much of a mental game that I feel like people don't realize from either side. Yeah. It's a huge mental game, so much more than it is a physical.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about that. What about like the times where, like, maybe this isn't the appropriate time to bring your own meal prepped food, like date night or Thanksgiving or anything like that? Like, how do you approach that?
So I would bring beef jerky in my bags, or I would just try to bring like beef jerky, Rice Krispies. Like I would take out like, okay, what's my protein? What's my carbs? And then like a to-go peanut butter. And it's like, I would eat that before or after. I would snack throughout the party, but like things like social gatherings with food, huge stressor for me. I just don't like to eat in front of people. And again, just really not knowing what I'm eating or if it's going to be going towards my goals. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy myself whenever there's food I want to enjoy. Yeah. But most of the time it's just not. So it's like I hold a plate and then I have my snacks in my bag. And
so you would essentially like, I'll eat these things, but it's a no, get me my calories. And if there's anything there that I want to eat, cool, but otherwise I'll just pass on it.
Yeah. Just make sure I have stuff with me on the go. That way I don't end up not eating. You don't find it, you know, hours. Yeah. But I mean, I definitely don't restrict myself whenever I'm at places. But in my case, I just typically don't.
It's just not a desire to eat whatever it is.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Is it particularly the aspect of eating in front of other people? So let's just say you went to a party and they had protein waffles. Would you be like, cha-ching?
Probably not.
No, so it is a bit of the social aspect.
Yeah, okay. Definitely. And I was the same way as a kid. Yeah. Like I was the last one to finish eating. Like I pick at my food. I don't know. I've never been big about dinners or just being around other people and eating. It's just, I guess I'm much more aware of like everything else. And again, like you said, it's like if I have my snacks in my bag that I know are going to get me towards my goals, I'm just like, I'm not even going to let that stress me out. I'm not even going to like bother.
Yeah. Okay. Do you still work with a therapist for that kind of stuff?
Well, she actually wasn't even for all of that stuff. She was just for, general. Yeah. And then this has just been a part of my life literally since I was a kid. I can remember being this picky since first grade, kindergarten. But of course, we just wrote it off as like, oh, she's super picky. Yeah. Until I was eating the same food for like 6 years. And then my mom was like, okay, well, this is a little more than just picky. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we just didn't figure it out until I finally got to the point where I was like, I'm dropping weight exponentially.
What have you learned about eating disorders in this process? And what have you learned about just eating disorders as a whole?
Just the mental aspect behind it. Like it is like even anorexia, even though it is like, you want to lose weight and look thinner, like it's so much more up here. Yeah. Because what they're experiencing is body dysmorphia. And anyone who's in the gym has experienced that. That's something we all experience. Just people with anorexia, they experience to just a severity, like to the point where it's like, it's just a delusion. Yeah. And it's all up here. And again, if you can get them to focus on putting on muscle, well, then all of a sudden they're not so scared about gaining weight. Yeah. It's just about redirecting it. And same thing with, bulimia. It's a mindset that thinking that your food is going to make you fat. It's fuel.
Yeah.
You know, it's energy. Change the mindset of how you see it, which much easier said than done. But changing your mindset behind food may not make the relationship with it perfect, but you can at least see it for what it is.
How common do you think, I'm sure we could look this up, you may be aware of it, but like how common are eating disorders?
Very common.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how common, but I want to say like 1 in 3 women struggle with it. Now, don't quote me on that, look it up. But, I mean, I've known multiple women. Now, men, I don't know if I know too many men with eating disorders, but with women, yeah, even if it's just like a little like, no, I'll pass on that. There's a party tonight. I don't want to look bloated.
Yeah.
Even just like passive comments like that is like, well, no.
Yeah, that's
like that's.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I mean, is like binge eating excessive calories considered an eating disorder? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say there's plenty of men that have that.
Yeah, it's not healthy. And yeah, I knew even in my case that it wasn't healthy, but sometimes if you got 1,700 calories that you need to get in for dinner.
I'm just thinking of like the average, like I've known several very overweight guys who almost on a weekly basis would consume like 3,000 to 4,000 calories in a meal, you know, and it was like their Friday night way of dealing with the stress of the week.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, pizza, ice cream, a billion beers, whatever, Coke. You know, you'd be like Coca-Cola, not cocaine, and you know, it's like golly, like
yeah,
and like, you know, you're 35%, 40% body fat, like morbidly obese, eating this on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have seen that in male clients and female clients, but yeah, it's a way of coping, just like how when a stressor comes up in my life, my coping mechanism is not to eat. That's the last thing I think about.
Yeah.
But my boyfriend's the opposite. He gets stressed and he just wants to make whatever's in the kitchen.
I had a client one time who didn't want to drink water because it would make her weigh more. And I mean, of course, she was rail thin, and I was like, "You don't drink water because you're gonna weigh more?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like,
Yeah, that's
"Why are you
crazy.
drinking Coke then?" Or like, so you drink like a Sprite or like a Diet Coke, whatever it would be. And her thought was, and if this is an indication of an eating disorder, it was like, well, there's carbonation in here that's lighter than air, so technically, I'll weigh less eating or drinking carbonated drinks than I will drinking water.
Yeah, that's horrible.
I was like, that is an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So,
And it feels so normalized, especially with social media now. Like, I feel like it's just so normalized for women to make those like passive choices. And it's like, those aren't passive choices. It's an eating disorder choice.
And I think that goes back. I mean, like you can like run through that filter, like I was talking about, of like the depth of why you do this, and if you're like why, why are you making this choice to eat this way? And it's like it does not meet the standards of like good stewardship, being a good asset for those around me. Like it misses all those, and so it's the top order. It's like just physical how I look. It's a delusioned, inappropriate view of how I look. Like you talk about having body dysmorphia. It's not true, but it's at that level. It's at that service level, and so, hence why it causes issues.
Yeah.
Well, what are some? So obviously you've had a lot of experience meal prepping. What are some give a couple tips for meal prepping for folks?
I don't know if y'all want my tips for it, but I mean, hidden protein. Search hidden protein.
Okay.
Like how you can just sneak it into.
Give a couple of
diet.
examples.
I mean, the main one is rice and bone broth.
Bone broth, you're getting the collagen protein. So you're just cooking it like you normally cook it. You just put it in bone broth instead of just water.
Right. So that it absorbs it.
Interesting. I never heard that one.
Yeah. And it also makes it taste a lot better too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Trying to think of other ones that I have. I mean, just loading your smoothies up, your protein smoothies, instead of just doing protein powder and milk, get like the Fairlife milk with extra protein in it, and then add spinach and peanut butter, low-fat peanut butter, something that you can just like get more value.
I call that if you can't eat it, drink it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like if I was like, hey, you got to eat 60 grams of protein, like that's a lot of chicken breast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But drinking 60 grams of protein in like three whey isolate shakes is like, that's like you can smash that. Like that's like 16 ounces of water, like pretty easy. So yeah, if you can't eat it, drink it.
Yeah. And I'm just like, make it happen.
Yeah.
Like however you can, just get it in.
When do you do your meal prep?
So actually I haven't meal prepped in quite a while. Once I got out of school, I kind of, I'll say I got out of meal prepping like my 3 meals a day. I still do mainly my lunch, but, I mean, mainly now it's just like pastas and like burger patties to like quickly heat up if I need to go. So it's nothing special nowadays. My protein bowl was my like chef days.
Yeah. Okay. So you just eat breakfast and dinner and cook it and then prep your lunches to take to work. Yeah. And that's what I do is everything for breakfast is something I can make without having to touch it. So like an egg witch, they make them. They're pre-made egg witches from Costco. I can throw them in the microwave. I take sausage patties and throw them in the air fryer. So it's like hit the button, you can eat it. You know, so that's like my secret for the morning time. We meal prep our lunches on Sunday. One strategy that we use is essentially like every kitchen device gets a something.
Yeah.
So like yesterday we did in the oven salmon, on the grill chicken thighs, and on the stovetop we did ground beef, and in the air fryer we did vegetables. And so like it takes about 30 minutes for us to meal prep because we're just get it all in there. Okay, cool. It cooked for 20 minutes. Get it out. Throw it in containers.
That's smart. I haven't thought about that before.
So like it's just a rule that like we won't ever do anything where 2 things need to be cooked on the same thing. So like I'm not going to do 2 things in a grill because that takes too long. Or I'm not going to do 2 things because like I don't want to take an hour to cook food. So that's a trick. For vegetables, if we're doing like broccoli, we want to cook it with throwing an air fryer. But you can buy like frozen vegetables. They're already cooked, and we don't have to cook them. You just scoop them right out of the frozen container into the meal prep container and run from there. Yeah. And then we do, at least I do breakfast for dinner. So I do like eggs. I do eggs and then Greek yogurt with protein powder in it for dinner. Yeah. So it's like everything's a really pretty quick. Any type of cooking we're doing morning or night is a pretty quick. 5 minute to make things. So that's our secrets.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I definitely need to try that. Yeah, for dinner, it's really like I do breakfast for dinner as well. I feel like that's just super easy.
Easy peasy.
Protein waffles, the sausage patties that are like 14 grams, which are like the Williams brand. And so I always get those because they're 14 grams protein per patty.
Is it pork sausage or pork sausage?
Yeah, but I think they have
beef sausage.
I think they have a whole range of different kinds. Yeah, we'll get that. There's the frozen ones or the ones that you can just make. Sometimes we'll meal prep those and take 2 of those, and you got nearly 30 grams of protein in you. So super easy there. And then things like beef jerky, Slim Jims, just to keep in my bag just in case I need it.
In case I need a little extra something. Yeah, I like to think of like I have my backups. This is like, oh crap, we didn't get a chance to go to the grocery store or something happened. We get a chance to meal prep. And so like one easy one is Costco has pre-pulled rotisserie chicken.
Oh, okay.
So it's rotisserie chicken, but they've pulled it all. There's no skin on it. They just pulled it all. And it's just in a vacuum sealed bag. And so I go just buy 3 of those and throw them in your freezer. Yeah. So if you ever find yourself like, oh crap, I don't have any food. Like you've already got the chicken sitting there. You can just pull that out. You can add olive oil to it. The frozen vegetables that kind of stay there. So that's kind of like that's my cheat code for, oh crap, we don't have any protein. There's always like 3 bags of frozen rotisserie chicken in the freezer.
Yeah, no, that's smart. Yeah.
Very cool. Garner, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think I'm all right.
All right, awesome. All right, MBS Fitness Radio, out.
Thank you for listening to NBS Fitness Radio. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our website at www.nbsfitness.net. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more NBS Fitness Radio.